Welcome to the Plan Commission meeting for the City of Hudson for Thursday, September 4th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And first item is discussion, possible action on July 24th meeting minutes. Any changes or corrections? Is there a motion to approve?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is discussion and possible action on certified survey map on one residential lot, 3.47 acres at 327 South 7th Street South, two outlots, 2.82 acres on Cooley Road and 0.3 acres on 7th Street. Mr. Darnold?
This certified survey map basically just rearranges lots that were previously subdivided about a year and a half ago. The previous subdivision had the house as one lot, the area along 7th Street and the higher elevations as one lot, and then the area along Cooley Road as an outlot. This just reduces the number of developable lots from 2 to 1 and provides two outlots. I recommend approval.
Is there a motion to approve?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. If there are no questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action on concept development plans at Pier 800, former Nor Lake Warehouse Site, 801 First Street, new office building, and 811 First Street, renovation of existing warehouse.
In the proposed, this is a concept plan review. There's probably one significant issue that we haven't been able to totally resolve yet with the developer, and that has to be stormwater. They're proposing a pretty sophisticated stormwater system, which includes underground infiltration systems. We currently have our city engineering consultant reviewing that. We'll be working with Roger Humphrey, their consulting engineer, to work out those details. The proposal is to renovate the existing Nor Lake warehouse building into an office building. The unique feature of the design of that building is that the middle portion of it will you can actually view through the building so you can see to the river. So the general appearance of the overall development would be more like 3 buildings, even though the 2 where the warehouse is being proposed to be one building is connected with a roof system where you'll be able to see through. And part of that concept is that you're establishing a rhythm of buildings similar to the sizes of the residential properties along First Street, so there's a continuation of the rhythm of the architecture. The second building on the south side of Elm Street is a new office building, and with that said, there are color elevations that were provided to you tonight to give you a better understanding on materials and colors of the building. I'd like to turn the discussion at this point, give the floor to Roger Humphrey and let him explain. Mike Heff, the architect, and Mark Putman, the landscape architect, let them explain the project. There were reviews, comments provided by the city engineer, Tom Sifko. Mr. Humphreys responded that he doesn't see any significant issues with what was discussed by Mr. Sifko, but we'll be working with them as they develop their final development plans to have those incorporated into their final development plans. So at this point, we'll turn the floor over to Mr. Humphreys. Hi, Roger.
Good evening. We have a couple site plans here to put up as well. As Danny mentioned, we've been working on the site plan for a little while here. We just went through the Board of Adjustments, and I believe we've received staff comments at least on the site plan. We reviewed those. Mainly, the site consists of 2 buildings, I believe 67 parking stalls, and we do have a fairly elaborate stormwater system due primarily to the location of the site with the river. And really what our goal here is to infiltrate as much water as possible and in essence make the site better than what it really is out there currently. With that, I think some of the staff comments that we received, I went through them. We don't really see any issues. At this point, we're still waiting a review on the stormwater portion. We're waiting review on DNR stormwater permit as well. From that standpoint, I think the last changes that we made most recently, going through Board of Adjustments, is that we shifted the south building north about 5 feet and had to redesign or rework the intersection on First Street. And with that, I'd be happy to take some questions or elaborate more on items too.
Yeah, when you go over, just conceptuate the site and the building concept, so.
Well, from a building aspect concept, we've, as Denny said, we took the original building of the North Lake building and basically carved a 20-foot wide swath out of the center of it to create a couple of different things. One was to allow more glass within the office spaces, so the users would have 3 sides of glass because the building is built into the hill, or the slope of the existing grades. With that said, we're proposing a really unique connection from First Street from the sidewalk with a series of steps and planters and facade treatments within that section. So as you approach heading east, you're walking down a set of stairs and then you're entering into a center tower. Within that tower, you then transfer back to the entry to the building and to the east and into the parking lot. So it's a pretty neat connection in through there. The buildings that we're proposing to remain low slung are basically using the existing height of the North Lake building, creating new facades along with the proposed new building to just match those heights. So we're not raising the heights of the main box. However, the towers do extend up to 34 feet to the peak. I believe the code is 35 feet to the average height of the hip roof. So we're below the requirement based on height on the river side. On the street side, we're about 18 feet to the parapets. The amenities that we've proposed are using various patios, which the old loading dock will be now converted into some patios for the office users to use, with some patio doors and connection out so they can have use of that exterior space. We're all ADA compliant in both buildings. We have walkway pavers that we're proposing to connect from First Street through the building and down through the rain gardens in front of the north building that will connect you to the parking lot. So give you a connection basically to that, kind of towards to the river. We're proposing all cut-off light fixtures for the exterior lighting that is building mounted, as well as the light fixtures within the parking lot. We've proposed raised planters around the building to create a step in a jump from First Street, because the first floor of the buildings, both buildings are 4 feet roughly above the street level. So there'd be a transition of planter to that first floor. The buildings as well are proposed to use a generous amount of stone, that's earth tone, that's acceptable to the DNR, kind of a ledge rock stone, We're proposing above that line of stone, horizontal lap siding, again, earth tone materials, as well as architectural shingles on the tower roofs, which are low-pitched hip roof form, a generous amount of glass. So the remainder of the building basically is just to create the look of 3 unique buildings that all accent one another and to create a unique development. So with that said, I can answer questions that you may have.
I assume you've had a lot of contact with the DNR?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, through the variance process, we had lengthy conversations with the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources.
Okay. I think it looks outstanding.
I do too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I do have a question. What, you know, that walking path is down there, and obviously your parking lot abuts that. I see you're planning stuff and that. What, maybe I can't see as good as I should here. What, is there gonna be a height differential between the parking lot and the existing walkway that the city has through there? I mean,
Yes.
what type of, I don't know, is buffer the right word? Something, what's gonna be there? I mean, are kids gonna be jumping off that wall down to the trap? I mean, I'm just curious.
Yeah. There's currently some retaining walls on the site from the old building, but basically, the parking lot is going to sit somewhere between about 4 feet above the walking path area throughout the project. On the very southwest end, it's a little higher than that, but what we have is we have 2-stage retaining walls where there's in essence about 2 feet of drop and then a 4-foot drop. It's more for safety precautions on that.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Will there be timers? I mean, because, I know what this is zoned, but it's very close to a residential area. Will there be timers on the lights in the parking lot? And then also, will there be certain hours that the parking lot will be open or closed because it is very close again to a residential area? So I have those 2 questions.
The parking lot lighting, all of our parking lots that we do are photocell on time block off. So when it gets dark, they'll turn on, and then we can set the timer to have them turn off.
So is that part of your plan to do that, or? Okay.
Photocell on time block off.
Okay.
And
And
energy code as well.
great, great. And then the hours of the parking spots, I'd heard that, they might be open after hours, after the businesses, after 5 o'clock are done, or open to open public parking, which we know could be an opportunity for us to help fill some of the gaps that we have for parking at night. But is it going to be open 24 hours? Or is there going to be hours on that, after 11 o'clock, this parking lot is closed?
Well, perhaps
Is that too soon to ask that question?
well, yes and no.
All right.
Ms. O'Neill and I have not had an opportunity to discuss that issue. The final development plans will come back on September 25th. Before that meeting, we'll have an opportunity to discuss those issues.
Thank you.
Anyone have any other questions?
Roger, there was one comment by the city engineer on the proximity of the storm sewer line next to the existing north building and the possibility of realigning that so that if there is maintenance work required on that stormwater line, the building is not jeopardized as far as the structural quality. If you taken a look at that issue, or?
I did look at that issue, and I think that's a prudent thing to do, is we can just put a manhole in the entrance of the site and just kink it or bend it around the building corner. And this is the existing building corner that we're talking about. And one of the staff comment was the storm sewer should have about a 20-foot easement, so I think we would use that as at a minimum guide to bend that storm sewer around.
And just one, it avoids any damage to the building if there's
Correct.
some
Yep.
maintenance on the storm sewer system
Yep.
in the future, so. Thank you. With that, city staff recommends approval of the concept development plans for incorporation and discussion of the parking, and also the final review of the stormwater system, plus the comments that were incorporated in the packets today by Mr. Sifko.
I have one additional question.
Absolutely.
What, I see, I'm looking at your landscape, is there any additional screening for your neighbors to the north or the residential neighborhoods? What are you trying to do to make that transition as appeasing as possible?
Correct. We could put the landscaping plan up, but when we moved the building, what we did is we had 5 more feet, and hearing some of the public comments, we in essence added, I believe it's, maybe Mark can comment on that, but we added more trees. That was a criteria that we kind of set and as part of moving the building.
I just saw those trees on the corner and.
Yeah, these are the area.
Nothing on the other end.
And on the other end, basically, it was response to Denny's, the city requirement with regard to removal of some of the
Yeah,
water-oriented trees that are.
yeah, DNR requirement and Board of Appeals requirement is for every tree that's removed, they have to replace it somewhere on site, or they can use those trees off-site, either in the park system or adjacent properties to help screen this project. So we'll have to do an inventory. There's diseased trees or damaged trees which can be removed per DNR requirement or administrative rules, with the balance of trees. So it may be a balance, and if we have some trees that don't necessarily fit into this particular landscape plan, those could be planted off-site or incorporated into some of the screening considerations.
Denny, in response to that requirement, I did, I wouldn't call it an exacting, I didn't use a caliper, but I did measure each tree as best I could. A lot of them fall right at that 12-inch diameter, which is kind of strange, but the end result was we modified the planting plan and call for the 4-inch diameter, which are either going to be gigantic balled and burlap or machine-moved trees. So that'll have a substantial impact on the how this appears.
Well, some thought went into it. That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, and if there's, Denny has observations that we didn't, I think you and I need to.
Yeah,
and
we'll have to look
everybody
at.
else can walk down through, it's there. You
Yeah,
can
look
see
at
it.
it. We'll have to look at the inventory.
And then figure out if we've got it right. I think we have it right, that we've broken the parking lot up into a number of, not long rows of parking spaces and so forth, the best we can, so.
But one of the concerns expressed by one of the adjacent property owners is that there's damaged or dead trees that are doing property damage, and they wanted those removed. So, in one sense, you got somebody saying, well, I want some trees removed. In another sense, we're trying to provide screening. So there's a balance here we're trying to achieve.
One last question. On your driveway, that's kind of steep there. I mean, I don't know how you're gonna, if you're down in the parking and coming up the hill to get out of there, right? Is that a doable thing? Is that gonna work? Nobody's gonna be sliding backwards and.
Roger, you.
This is on the grade of the entrance?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the grades that we have on there meet basically the city standards coming down, but we were concerned with that, and so as you come down, and specifically there's a retaining wall at the end of this thing, so we ended up putting an island. So if you're out of control, you hit basically, an island, but generally speaking, we start to flatten out and everything else. But we look at this stuff, and that was one part of that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I will move to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Other business for informational purposes for upcoming
Thank you.
meetings.
Well, we're trying to set up a meeting with the Wisconsin DOT and Wisconsin Department of Transportation consultant to look at the 2 alternatives that's been presented to the city on the Exit 2 Carmichael Road interchange. At the council meeting, I asked for a meeting on our Thursday, October 2nd. That happens to conflict with a Packer-Vikings game. And And there was some expressed concern on whether the turnout of that meeting, which we'd like to see a good turnout, but the purpose of the meeting is really for the Plan Commission Council. It would be a joint meeting, really have an opportunity to discuss the pros and cons of these two alternatives and try to get to a decision which alternative the city has a preference for. So we're looking at an alternative date of September 30th, which is a Tuesday before that, same week, but a Tuesday. So once that date's determined, I'll be sending out but we'd like Plan Commission members to attend that meeting also.
Do you think that'd be like a 7 o'clock meeting?
7 PM most
Yep.
likely, yeah.
But we'd like a big turnout, right?
Yeah, we'd like to
everybody's-
have discussion.
Yep. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.